Locked.
Hello and welcome back to another ClueCon Weekly. I'm delighted this week to have Alessandro Polidori with us. How are you doing, Alessandro?
Fine, thanks. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to see you again, and it's a pleasure also to be here at my second ClueCon Weekly because I missed it.
It's good to have you back. I know that
Thank you.
it was an enjoyable experience for you and Madison when you did this some months ago. And of course, you've also been to a live ClueCon last year in August 2019. You were with us in Chicago. How did you enjoy your first ClueCon live event, Alessandro?
Yeah, last year in 2019, I was at ClueCon for my first time, and it was Chicago is a beautiful thing, and the experience at ClueCon was very great. All the participants, all the attendees, a very great talks with a very deeper expertise in the sector. So I was very lucky to participate on it and to have the opportunity to speak something about how we at Nethesis here in Italy have been developed a software with WebRTC to make audio and video phone calls from the browser.
Great stuff. Well, it's good to have you along at ClueCon, and we'll look forward to you being at future ClueCons. Are you planning to come along to the virtual event, ClueCon Deconstructed, in August, the 4th to the 6th?
Yeah, of course.
Great.
I registered on it.
Excellent. That'll be good to have you along. Now, you mentioned your company, Nethesis, and we'll come on to that. But just give us a little bit of background first, please, Alessandro. How long have you been a VoIP and WebRTC man? When did your career start?
Yeah, something about myself. I'm Alessandro Polidori, and I'm a senior software engineer working in Nethesis. Nethesis is an Italian open source company, and I've been involved in voice over IP PBX systems since about 2011, so many years ago. But my principal skills are with web technologies, in particular Node.js and WebRTC, designing and developing and maintaining a lot of code, or a lot of Node.js code, principally, basically controlling voice over IP communications using JavaScript and WebRTC, and generally speaking with web technologies.
Great.
I was
going to say, I don't know what it is about Italian people and WebRTC, because of course we've been talking to Lorenzo Miniero about.
Absolutely, I know him.
Yeah, there seems to be a hotbed of VoIP and RTC activity over there in Italy. Which part of Italy are you in, Alessandro?
Yeah, we are at the center of Italy, near the Adriatic Sea, in a city that is called Pesaro. Nethesis is based on it. So, and I know Lorenzo, and we use this Janus Gateway that they developed. They are great guys in Naples, here in Italy.
Yeah, excellent. And of course, they had their Janus Conf last year in September in Naples.
Yeah, it was great. The first Janus conference that was very, very good.
Good
a lot
stuff.
Of participants.
Yes, indeed. Now, I understand that you've got a little presentation for us because you're going to tell us a little bit about the company and the product before you home in on an open source component that you've also got. So I'm going to switch over to the screen share. And if you would like to start your slideshow, Alessandro, I'll hand over to you for that.
Okay, here it is. Can you see it?
Yes, we see you, and you're in the top corner of our screen as well.
Okay, fantastic. So, as I already said, I work in Nethesis, which is an Italian company situated in the center of Italy. It was born more or less at about in 2003, helps customer partners to use latest technologies with creating a bridge between innovation, open source, and business. We are mainly divided in 3 sections: development, R&D, customer support, and the marketing section, with one CTO, Filippo Carletti, and one CEO, Cristian Manoni. We like to define ourselves as an open company because all the decision making are open. We discuss every day, not only into the company, but also with our customer. For Nethesis is very active in open source field. In fact, it has started the NetServer Linux distribution that today has a huge community of enthusiastic people. We maintain two communities. One is open with NetServer Linux distribution, and one for our partners with which we use to signal some bugs and to report any kind of things every day.
Right.
Is an open source company because our philosophy is open, okay? And we integrate different kind of open source projects and to simplify them and to enable the end user to easily use them. We put the people at the center. Always we try to evaluate the needs of our customers, of course, and to think of it using different points of view. We created different kind of products. Our main, as you see from the slide, our main section are 5. The unified communication system that we are going to speak in this presentation, a security section, a groupware and collaboration, an hotspot, and then a server Linux distribution. You can find it at the URL showed in the slide. And, we are an open source software, and we could developers to maintain, contribute this software, and generally speaking, for me, the bigger mistake in the past, it was that some manager could think at open source as a free software, free of cost. But today you can participate in an open source project in very different manner. And we try to do it every day. So, yeah?
Yeah, great stuff, Alessandro.
Okay, so I'm going to speak about our phone switchboard system that we have created during the years. Since about 2011, when I started to work here in Nethesis. So this concerns our unified communication environment, and the application in question is that behind this presentation. It has inspired me to have this presentation. In the slide, you can see the web application that is a CTI, a computer telephone integration, which brings to the end user all the phone switchboard functionality. It was born in 2011, and it is an upper layer situated upper to the Netvoice phone switchboard system, because in our company we developed the NetServer Linux distribution as the base for all of our products, and on top of it we've developed a phone switchboard system called Netvoice that is based on two very famous open source projects, you know, Asterisk PBX and Free PBX. Okay, Asterisk is the core of the switchboard, and Free PBX is used to simplify all the configuration. And on top of it, we've developed a layer called Netvoice, that is our software, to simplify a little bit more all the functions. For example, to create extension, users, trunks, and so on. Why this? Because we put the user at the center of our system. So in the application, there is a user with one of or many devices associated to it. So there is a wizard, a web wizard, to simplify all these kind of things, to create with different steps the extension, the user, associate to them a security profile, and so on, and many other things.
Right.
NetCTI is a web application, and it becomes an indispensable tool to use daily by the user. It implements an attendance panel to show real-time status of the entire system, the extensions, the parkings, a queue supervisor, and many other things. We are going to see it. And another important thing we've developed is the presence. Presence is the status of the user and all their devices associated with it. So this slide shows us how the web application communicates with the rest of the world, because it's composed by two main components, the server and the client, of course, because it's a web application. This is the web client that communicates via backend through different kinds of communication. For example, REST API, WebSocket communication, TCP, and so on. And then it can call, for example, the rest of the world. What it means? With call, I means a typical phone call. You can call your colleague inner to the company or outside using the PSTN network, reaching, for example, a GSM phone. So let's go deeper. As in all web application, behind all there is the server. That is a phone switchboard system based on Asterisk PBX project. So the PBX receives a huge amount of events, of course, from the virtual phone lines, number 1 in the figure, and then passes them to the Node.js daemon, number 2, that is the core application that we are going to see. The Node.js process elaborates them in some manner and offers to the upper layers an abstraction of various events, number 3, to the clients. For example, the most typical one is a phone conversation, of course. So on the left side, there is a typical asterisk event telling us the identity of the involved parties. And then with the JS process, we offer using the JSON standard format. And you can see, you can have, for example, the direction of the call, the counterpart num involved into the conversation, if the call is recorded or not, and many, many other things.
Yes, very, very nice to see PJ SIP in the mix there, Alessandro.
Yeah, of course. We are using PJ SIP technologies, of course. And the Node.js server, some years ago, we used the SIP extension, but now PJ SIP, of course, is the standard to be used.
Good stuff.
So let's go deeper another time in the Node.js process, that is the core application. Okay, so the Node.js server is composed by many independent modules, each one with a precise responsibility in order to be easily replaced or written also with a different kind of language in the future, for example. Okay, and the server communicates with all connected clients to enable them to properly show all the system status in the real-time manner. Of course, you can easily understand how amount of events are produced. For example, in an installation of 1,000 of phones with about also 60 contemporary calls, and also when the user can do any kind of operation with the call. And so the backend has to manage hundreds of thousands of events. And for this particular reason, Node.js is the right tool, because it has been created to deploy a real-time application, okay, because of its asynchronous nature, thanks to its event loop. And this slide shows the web application, so the user can go to some specific URL of the application, log in into it, and he can show the real-time status of the entire system, as you can see from this slide. For example, here. Yeah.
So let me just ask you, Alessandro, this is more of an overall system status. It's not, because it looks a little bit like an operator panel, but it's more of a system status panel, really.
Yeah. See, yes. You are absolutely right. This is an operator panel. For example, in this slide, we have only Alessandro Polidori, but usually there are so many different users. And you can show the status, as in all operator panel, if the user is busy, is in DND, a call is coming, so the status is ringing, and so on. And you can interact with the user, for example, to make a new call, to transfer it, and so on. But we don't have only an operator panel, as we are going to see. But of course, we have many different services. For example, to manage the queues, we have a supervisor queue manager, the phone book, customer cards, and so on. The most important thing in this system is that the Node.js server offers an abstraction layer to the client, as I already said. And this kind of thing is important because you remain independent from the specific version of the Asterisk PBX and also from the specific PBX. For example, in the future, we can develop another component to also support free switch, for example, and the rest of the system doesn't change. Okay, and you also can develop in an easy manner, for example, a mobile application. Okay. And it remains independent from the specific server PBX. Also because we have developed a lot of REST API with which you can easily deploy a mobile application.
Yeah.
So I can go a little and speaking something about the architecture, because the entire architecture of the CTI backend uses a Node.js NPM module called Architect that was developed by C9 project, Cloud9, that is an IDE online, okay, that recently, I think in 2016, has been acquired by Amazon. So we are using this subcomponent that is called Architect. And the idea in mind is to isolate each component from each other to make the entire application more robust and resilient. And so I've created different kind of plugins, at about 36 plugins, each one with a specific responsibility. Okay. The advice is, I think,
it sounds very modular, Alessandro. You deliberately split everything out into small modules.
Yeah, because, for example, you can have also a specific component for the phone book and another component to communicate via REST API. But of course, you can develop another component speaking, for example, via TCP. It's very simple. And the benefit obtained from that kind of architecture is that you can easily replace or add any modules in any moment, as in the case of REST API layer. And to conclude the circle, we have a Node.js HTTP proxy that receives the request from the client through the Apache web server. And the very important subcomponent of this architecture is an Asterisk Proxy. What is it? An Asterisk Proxy is a module, a plugin of Cloud9 Architect that, as I already said, that is a kind of a proxy between Asterisk PBX and your client application, because it offers an abstraction layer to all of the clients. An abstraction layer, it means that it offers JSON data, some data in a JSON format. For example, what are the extensions of the system, what are the current conversation, and many other information. And the entire project is not completely open source. We have also developed an open source of the entire phone switchboard system that you can find it on GitHub under the net server repository. And but in the last few days, we have released an open source version of this Asterisk Proxy component, and I'm very happy about that, because the software comes from 2011, and only this year we have released as open source this subcomponent that you can take and use in your system.
Good news. good contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope also to open other kind of components, for example, to speak with it via REST API that simplify a little bit more all the interaction. But speaking a little bit more about Nest API, you can configure it with different kinds of JSON file, configuring asterisk, authentication, authorization, and a lot of things. We have implemented many features from phone calls, presence, phone book, customer card, operator panel, and any kind of things that is present in the switchboard system. And the communication, as I already said, is made in different kind of technologies. And coming back to Asterisk Proxy, that is called Ast Proxy, now it's open source. And just to recap, with it, you can implement all the functionalities that we have in our products. So you can implement phone calls, operator panel, queue supervisor, and so on. The present, queues, alarms, notification, and many other things. But why? Because Asterisk Proxy communicates via asterisk, connecting to it via the TCP port 5038. That is the default port of AMI, the Asterisk Manager Interface, because you can communicate with Asterisk in three main principal technologies. One is AMI, that is asynchronous. Another one is AGI, that is synchronous. And the final one is the REST API, ARI. In our system, we provide many different REST API, but the main difference with Asterisk ARI is that it provides a very abstract layer, because with ARI, you can interact with the specific channel of Asterisk, for example, and you have to know. But with our product, with our REST API, you can simply tell Asterisk to call from the extension 200, call another number, 354, etc. And when after that, you have all the list of the conversation, each one with a specific ID. So when you have to hang up the call, you can simply get this conversation ID and use it in REST API. So if tomorrow you can you want to use another kind of PBX, such as, for example, free switch, nothing changed on the client, because you always have the same abstraction data. Okay.
Right, and this is because you're presenting your own RESTful layer, even though underneath you're communicating with Asterisk via the AMI.
Yeah, of course. And so we can send commands to the Asterisk and receive events, elaborate them, and provide the abstraction data to the upper layer. It's simple.
And just a quick question, Alessandro. That is what the proxy is doing, is it? It's taking the information or like the events from the AMI and then either converting them or abstracting them.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Great, good stuff.
This is the work. And for example, now we support Asterisk version 13 LTS, because we use LTS version. In the past, we have developed for Asterisk 11, Asterisk 1.4, 1.6, and so on. So when a new version will be released, we have only to adapt the elaboration of the new events emitted from the Asterisk. Nothing changed. The rest doesn't change.
Good.
So, for example, you can manage a phone call having different features. You can manage also the video call, because we have developed a web phone with WebRTC technologies using Janus open source project. You can transfer the call, mute it, put in hold, send it TMF, and also to have screen sharing. It's very easy to use it. So
right. So yeah, Yeah, you're helping me to understand this much further. I was kind of thinking in my mind, it was a little bit like a project that happened many years ago called the AstMan proxy, but that was purely for the manager interface. Whereas what you're doing is you're proxying a lot of functionality of Asterisk. Yeah, excellent. So, sorry, do continue.
It was beginning in 2011, so a lot of work had been passed. But today we have released Asterisk Proxy as open source project. You can find it, of course, on GitHub repository, and you can install it as npm Node.js model because it's Node.js code. So now a bit more in real-time manner, and some words about the architecture, the complete architecture of our system. As I already said, under the layer there is the NetServer Linux distribution. On top of it, Asterisk PBX, but you can use also other kind of PBX. On top of it, we have NetVoice, which simplifies the configuration, and then NetCTI, which is being part of Asterisk Proxy. So I suspend my presentation now to go to take a look at things in a more real-time manner. Okay, David?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Feel free to switch over. Thank you.
Okay. So, as I already said, Asterisk Proxy is a GitHub repository, public. It's open source. You can find it, all the documentation related, and you can install it as a Node.js npm model. You can see it in this site. A little bit. I spoke about REST API. So if it's curious to see also the list of REST API of our system. For example, this is the documentation of REST API listing all the functionality of Asterisk Proxy component that we have released. So for example, you have different kind of REST API that today is not public, but as I already said, I hope to release it as soon as possible because it simplifies the life. So for example, you can have the DND status of an extension. You can get the list of all parkings, extensions, and so on. This is all the REST API of Queue Manager services. And of course, with different kind of REST API, you can originate a new call, transfer it, and any kind of things that you can imagine. So then there are other kind of REST API, but it's not interesting for this talk because they have part in other kind of parts of our project that is not open. But many kind of operation you can do. So then we have just to understand that with Asterisk Proxy you can do a very complete application. This is the documentation. So with different kind of services that we have implemented. There is also a complete documentation for the developers with REST API communication, WebSocket communication, and so on. So with Asterisk Proxy, if you are curious, you can develop an entire application. And just for fun, here is also the all the documentation about the code, the open source code. So you can go deeper as you want. For example, taking a look at the methods and properties and so on.
Great stuff, Alex.
Yeah, so we can go now to take a look at a direct example from the bash. Okay.
Okay.
So, for example, test in production. I hope all will go well.
Me too.
Here we are in my local machine, and then I'm going to connect at an Amazon EC2 machine. This is an already installed machine, of course, with our NetServer, NetVoice phone switchboard system. I've just created different extensions, queues, and so on. So the system is complete. But now we can create our application, for example, my app, tip into it, create a package.json with npm module. We accept all the default values. Okay.
Yeah.
We are going to install Asterisk Proxy project. Save it on package.json.
Okay.
Here it is. And then we can create our application. And this is very easy because we can follow the documentation, the quick start. We already installed the Asterisk Proxy component.
Yeah.
We integrate the library, and then a first step is to configure the component, specifying the port, the host, username, and password.
Right. Okay. So at the back end, it can communicate with Asterisk.
Yeah, this is these are the information to connect to Asterisk MEI. And okay, we remain on it. I open another shell. Typically, we can find the credential to connect to Asterisk MEI in this file. Okay.
Yeah.
So I copy the password and paste it. Error. And paste it as a configuration parameter. Okay.
Yeah.
We can exit from it, and then once we have configured the component, we have to register for the ready event, of course, because as proxy connect to the Asterisk MEI, and then it log into it. So at the end of the operation, it emits the ready event. Only after that you can use it. Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, we can write ready. Okay, and as the last step, we have to start the component, of course, when we are ready. So we save and test our new application. Okay, something is wrong because of the names of extension, but at this point the component is ready. It's connected to the Asterisk MEI.
Okay.
Other operation, we can, for example, you have different kind of feature. For example, you can get all the extensions list. For example, in this manner, these are the list of all events you can have. Of course, the documentation has to be developed because we released just some years ago.
Documentation looks pretty good, though, Alessandro.
Yeah. So we are going now to try to get the list of extension.
Okay.
Extensions. Okay. And here it is. Okay, this is the list as an object. The keys are the extension identifier, and this is the list of all the methods. So, for example, if we need to have the entire data of the specific 92.2001 extension, we can use the method to JSON, for example. We can try it.
Okay.
And here it is. You have a lot of information, the IP address of the phone connected with this extension, the MAC address, the DND status, all the conversation, and so on. As you can see from the site, for example, this is a complete list. Okay, so it's you can make also a new phone call, of course. simply by telling the caller, the destination, and the callback function to be executed. Okay, it's I think it's a little bit simple. We have, of course, to improve it, but this is only the beginning. I hope that some curious people can arise to participate and I don't know, to improve the quality of the code, of course.
Yeah, it's a great framework. I'm going to switch over, Alessandro, now, so it's just you and me on the screen again, because I don't need your screen. So there you are. You're back in the room there. Yeah, it's an incredible thing. It's kind of opening Asterisk, and as you said, possibly free switch as well in the future, up to people who want to approach it from a kind of a web framework. And other places, rather than having to seriously get into the nuts and bolts of those individual technologies.
Yeah, we can say that I hope it's the beginning to simplify the use of real-time communication to web developers, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a step in that direction. Well, thank you very much for showing that. It's good to see what you've been up to, and also, of course, very gratifying to see that you've made that Asterisk Proxy open source tool for other people to take and not only use, but as you were saying, improve and do more in terms of the code and the documentation. That's great.
This is only the beginning.
That's the power of community. So thank you for doing that. We're coming to a close now, Alessandro. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye to the ClueCon Weekly audience?
Absolutely. I would like to thank you all of attendees to take a look at the project, and of course, thank you all the ClueCon guys to give me the opportunity to explain how Asterisk Proxy is, of course, and I'm looking forward for the next ClueCon this year.
Great. We're looking forward to having you along as well. At ClueCon Deconstructed, August the 4th, 6th, it's going to be online, and we were actually testing out some of the functionality for it last week, including the very famous now karaoke session that used to happen live. We've Tony and the team have developed the technology to do that online successfully as well. So that will be fun. Thank you very much for joining us, Alessandro. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye. Have a good day.